Good morning. Wild Girls Gone Sober.
Wild Girls Gone Sober.
Yeah. And I'm Lindsay.
And I'm Amy.
Hi, Amy.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning. So we are halfway through just about holidays. It's about mid-December, so we've gone through Thanksgiving, and now we just kind of have what I call like the Super Bowl parties, Christmas, New Year's.
Yeah, it's definitely, and I would tell you, I don't normally feel like the holidays are super busy for me. I usually like call people out like, why does everybody act like they're so busy around the holidays? And this year, I feel like I have something every 5 minutes.
See, I feel like I'm one of those people that say I'm so busy just because it's nonstop with like work stuff. I mean, we both network a lot and we're a part of a lot of different organizations. So everybody has their own holiday party or gift exchange, and how many unwrapped toys do you have to buy for the whole holiday season. So I think so not only professionally and then personally, everybody's got a ugly sweater party or whatever the new.
Yeah, I don't get, but see, I guess that's where I'm going with it, is I don't have a lot of like personal parties and stuff like that. I don't know, maybe I'm not as popular as I think I am.
So are.
I have like stuff, like I was in charge of the judges for the Christmas parade in my town that the chamber puts on, yes, which I love being a part of. And last year I was a judge, and I was like probably a drunk judge, and
best kind.
This year I was like rallying the judges, and I was literally like bringing people beverages at the judges table because we have like open bar and stuff. So I had that, and then I was invited to a brunch that I elected not to go to, and I felt a little bit bad because I was saying I would go, and it was the day after the parade, and then I got up in the morning and I was like, I really don't want to go, so I just bailed. But I haven't been invited to a lot of like friends parties, and I don't have family down here other than my in-laws, so it's just, I don't know, it's not usually a super busy time, but work and networking stuff has been busy.
So just to go back to when you said, like you elected out of that, I feel like this week for me has been a little bit more of a challenging week. Not sure why.
Challenging, like triggery or
anxiety? Stressful, anxiety, like almost tired, just exhausted. And I think it's just a lot of stuff. So
maybe
when I was
overwhelmed.
Exactly. And I think it's just that it is the holidays, like I kind of have to give myself a little bit of a break. And so there were so many things going on this week. I mean, it was, it's that second week into December. So everybody, it's just party or networking or whatever you want to call it. They're all parties,
Right.
And I was just like, there's so many things going on. I'm not doing any of it. So like I just went to a couple that I felt were important to me that I had to be at. And other than that, I just said no.
What were they like? Like so I kind of wanted to, I was hoping we'd talk about Thanksgiving.
Okay.
Because I think like just kind of recap what we did and what we went through at Thanksgiving, and then kind of lead into, because this should go out prior to Christmas. Y'all should be listening to this prior to Christmas. So hopefully, sharing what we did or went through for Thanksgiving, and then transitioning to maybe some tools and strategies for what we're going to go through in the next couple of weeks would be helpful for people.
I like it.
Yeah.
So tell me about your Thanksgiving.
So the only family I have here is my in-laws. They live about a mile down the road from us. We've talked about that. It's very everybody loves Raymond. Although I don't know, that could have been in the last episode. People may not know that. I have my mother-in-law is like super Italian and does the Italian thing, like Sunday dinner at their house, like we're there all the time. So they do Thanksgiving and they do Christmas Eve, and I do Christmas Day. That's kind of our deal, because we have the child who's now an adult, but it started because of that, because we wanted to be home for Christmas morning presents and all that stuff. So Thanksgiving we go there. They pretty typically have guests as well, so there's usually somebody else. They have next door neighbors that they're very close with. They have friends from across the street that they're close to. So
the Friendsgiving
because they're all older. Their kids don't necessarily all live down here. So it was my husband and I, my in-laws, and the one couple that we've known that's been their friends for a long time. The husband is very ill, and the wife is really, I think, done.
With him?
With the husband. So there was some drinking that went on.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
He's a handful. He's a handful. And I think it's her coping mechanism. So there was some drinking that went on. It was nothing crazy. But there was definitely some free-flowing, harder
So how did you
alcohol.
feel being in that? Because that was probably your first sober Thanksgiving with them.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And so I've had, but I guess my point is we're there all the time. So it wasn't a huge difference to just being there on a Sunday for dinner. Like it wasn't a
easier.
big difference. Yeah. To me, it was kind of like same. I've been there every Sunday anyway. It wasn't really a challenge.
Now you just have the drama to watch.
Yeah. But what's funny, and I don't know that I noticed this necessarily on Thanksgiving, but I've noticed it recently is, I used to, for various reasons that maybe someday we'll dig into some of my, mental problems, but there are some anxieties and hardships for me when it comes to being there with my in-laws, with my mother-in-law. I love her dearly, but there are some things about it that do cause some stress and anxiety for me, and my method of dealing with it was always to just keep pouring the wine down my throat. Sometimes controlled, sometimes not. And I always perceived, and we're discovering this as we go on, but I always perceived that she drank kind of just as much as I did. Like, we would go through 3 bottles of wine while I was there because we were both pouring it. I'm not sure if my perception was wrong or if she is adjusting how much she drinks around me because now she knows I'm not drinking.
Ooh.
I'm not sure which it is because I feel like now I'm kind of paying attention. And, like, we went there Sunday for dinner, and she had a glass of wine when I walked in the door. And, I mean, like, our kind of glass of wine.
Okay, like a big girl.
It was full. It was a big girl glass, yeah. And she had a glass of wine when I walked in the door, and she opened a bottle while I was there and poured one more glass from that bottle. But that's it. That's all I saw her have the entire night. When we left, that bottle had exactly the same amount in it that it had after she had poured that glass. So I was like, I don't know. I don't know if she's drinking less because I've told her I'm not drinking. And I told her a little more than a week ago, we played golf together, and she asked me why I wasn't drinking. And I don't feel comfortable getting into this whole AA thing with her. So I just said, yeah, no, I just think I don't have a very good brake system, so it's probably better for everybody if I don't. And I left it at that. And
That's
that was
so
it.
interesting. So I think it's probably a little bit of both. I think she probably thought you were like the Sunday fun day partner that she could maybe have a couple extra glasses with.
Right, because she wasn't as drunk as I was.
Right, and this is all just us speculating.
Right,
Like, who knows?
We don't know for
sure.
sure.
So the cows come home, and that'll just be like time will tell because eventually if she really does have a problem, her brake system won't work either. And
well, she's
do you
75 years old. I don't think her habits are going to change much.
Right.
Like she is, and she's not, I wouldn't say I think she's an alcoholic. Like
right.
I'm not even saying that. I just think she does like the wine, and I thought she drank it as much as I did.
And I think we were a good catalyst for people to drink a little bit more with because nobody was ever going to drink as much as we were, right? So it was like, oh, well, I could maybe have, if they were like a normie, they could maybe have a couple extra glasses because they knew we were going to have a couple bottles extra. So it leaves a little leeway, right?
That followed us.
And
get in my bubble of permission.
So can you go back and explain the break? Your break analogy, because that's something I've been using a lot lately to describe why I don't drink.
Yeah, well, I heard somebody say this at a meeting, and I thought it was so cool. She said she was talking with her kid, her teenager, about the fact that she's sober, and it was really a very moving story. She was asking if they were embarrassed that they had a mom who's an alcoholic, and her daughter said, no, I mean, you're such a better mom like this. I would rather have you this way. Like, I'm so proud of you. It was really very sweet and moving. But they were talking about why she can't drink. And she said, I'm like a car that has a recall on the brakes. Sometimes they work, but I never know which time they're going to work or they're not going to work. So I've just kind of adapted it to say, like, I don't have a very reliable brake system. Like, and that's the truth of it, right?
It is.
Like, I don't know if I have one glass, if I'll stop there or not. Sometimes I could. Sometimes I could have 1 or 2 and be just fine. But I don't know. That first glass could be the slippery slope to 12. Like, I just don't know. And it's not our fault. It's not a choice. It's not us deciding. Like, yeah, sometimes we went in like, woo, deciding to party. But most of the time, I didn't mean to get drunk. I didn't mean to black out. I didn't mean to get myself to the point where I missed the Kid Rock concert. You know, like, I didn't mean to do that. So that was just really powerful to me when I heard that, and I related to it so much. And I feel like it's an easy way to let people know I've stopped because I drink too much, but I don't need to get in any deeper.
See, I think it's a good way, agreed. I think it's a good way to let people know because everyone mostly drives. Like, we live in Florida, like, we drive. Everybody has a license. We drive in Florida. It's not like we're in New York and we take the subway and blah, blah.
Right.
So everybody driving, and, you know, your brakes are super important, right? It's like the most important thing in your vehicle. And that's just really good because people can relate to if your brakes have ever, like, you've had to pump them or whatever, like, not
Lindsay works in automotive, so this is really fun.
But, so it's just a really good analogy, and that's what ever since you told me that, I've had a much easier time explaining to people why I don't drink, you know, like, or explaining, like, I guess the problem, the disease a little bit easier. Right. It's like, you
which
know,
we don't understand yet.
Right.
I mean, we haven't
and we're still in that process, and that's why we hope, like, people listening, like, we're still so early on in this sobriety journey. And so the breaks analogy just for me is just a great one, just because it helps like open the conversation up. It's a little lighter than just being like, I don't drink now because I drink too much because of blah, 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 blah. Right. And like vomiting your whole life, right. You know?
And I don't want to out myself to everybody that I'm going to AA or that I'm in a program or that that's not anybody. It's funny. I listened to our last podcast on my way up here because I wanted to just kind of have it fresh, some of the things we had talked about. And we were talking about not owing anybody an explanation. And that's kind of, it's on that same vein of it's enough information for them to get it. But I don't owe anybody more than that. I don't owe anybody that, but it puts it on a comfortable level for me. It's not necessarily getting into the depth of the whys and everything else, but like it's don't offer me one, don't think I can have just one, don't pressure me about it. This is the deal.
So for Thanksgiving, my family, my brother came down from New York and his husband, and it was a lot of family time. And it's interesting because I'm so used to kind of, I've taken a step back from everything with this early sobriety, you know, just getting sober. So I haven't like done a lot of things I normally would do or put myself in situations. So I've really backed down. So when they came into town, it was very much like we did everything everybody else wanted to do. And that was kind of like, it was almost like, which was fun. It was, you know, relaxing. It was great to be with them.
Typical when you have family come to you.
Correct. But usually it's like an excuse to get a little saucy and drink too much and overindulge, whether it's day drink. And that was actually the first time we went to the museum, and it was this beautiful day. I mean, we're in South Florida. It was like a crisp 70 degrees that day. And the sun was shining.
70 degrees. I'm sorry. If we have listeners outside of Florida, that's horrible to me.
So it was just like, and I looked at Pat and I was like, this is a perfect day drinking day. And I just was like, I let the fantasy go for a minute, and then I stopped it, got out of the car, and it was just like, move a muscle, change a thought type of thing, right?
I had to do that last night. We'll come back to that. Okay. I had to do the move a muscle, change that, yeah.
So they were in, everything was fine. We had, you know, some family, whatever, hiccups of just being uncomfortable. But I think I did all right through that whole weekend. The last family dinner was a little awkward just because of whatever, and everybody was drinking. But again, like, Pat doesn't drink when I'm not drinking usually, so that was
that's nice.
Easy to just sit there and drink water with him. And to have him there through all those things. Like, I think I had one family breakfast where he wasn't there, and I was fine. But yeah, it was really good. It was easy. Wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. A little bit of anxiety levels of just,
excuse me.
Bless you.
Sorry.
But, bless you.
Sorry.
Amy sneezes like 17 times. So, but it was really good. Like, I think that was, it was just a little bit easier than I was expecting it to be. And again, it's like the thought of it, it's almost like the thought of having a drink is so much better than actually drinking. The thought of being in those situations is always so much scarier than actually being in them. You know, it's
That's
like the hype of that.
Yeah, we build it up to something in our heads before we get there. Yeah, I haven't really been in a situation yet where I'm at an event that I'm really struggling with it. I've been okay. Like
not having a drink?
Yeah, I've really been okay. Like, I'm with you. Like, the like, okay, leading up, like, ooh, it's okay, gotta have a plan, gotta have your exit, gotta have, like, all this stuff. But I've really been okay.
That's good.
It's surprising, yeah.
So what are some tips that you've done at the holiday parties to kind of set yourself up? Like, you say have a plan, right? When we say have a plan, it's not like a detailed strategic, plan.
Have a piece of paper in your pocket.
It's right. It's just like, okay,
exits spelled out.
I'm going to XYZ.
Right.
These are going to be maybe some triggers. These are going to be some people. These are going to be some things. And we've talked about it. Like, it's okay if you're not comfortable saying, I'm an alcoholic, or telling you Break's analogy and just saying, I'm on antibiotics. I have to get up early in the morning. Whatever it is that you're comfortable, like, especially early
or
on.
nothing.
Right.
Like, who the fuck
But sometimes you feel obligated to say something.
I know, but we've got to fix our brains on this, I think. Because it drives me crazy that I always come back to a place where I feel some obligation to explain myself. Like, if we weren't alcoholics, we would not feel that way.
But that comes with time.
Ugh.
Like, this is a prime example, and it's something just not to sidetrack, like, our holiday, whatever, but, like, I was talking to Pat about it last night.
To sidetrack.
I know you do so much to rein it back in.
I like it.
But so, like, I was talking to Pat about it last night, and we were talking about something, and I was like, I feel so much more comfortable now be telling people, and it was about a party I had to go to last night, and he's like, he's like, your first months, he's like, I would just bring it up, and you would just start crying, like, he's like, you couldn't even really, like, you would just say, I don't want to get emotional, and like, and it's true, like, so I think that's part of the progress. Like, I know we get upset that we don't, but like that we have to find this like a lie, or we have this obligation to give some story, but that's just going to get better with time. Like, think about how much better we are, what we can say now versus 3 months ago, right? Or 2 months ago.
Sure.
And that's just going to come with the comfort level, I think. Like,
I just mean,
the stigma.
I don't want to make up. I don't want to have excuses in my back pocket. The only person who gives a crap is me.
Right.
The person that I'm feeling this, like, I talked about it being like Tourette's, where I'm like, I'm not drinking.
Right.
Like, like, the person I'm feeling this need to explain this to does not care whether or not I'm drinking. They don't care. If I have a Diet Coke in my hand, and if I wasn't an alcoholic, there would be no thought in my head that anybody needs to know why I'm drinking a Diet Coke and not something alcoholic. Nobody cares.
But that's you working on because you're the only one, right? Like you just said, like, it's all about you. Nobody cares. That's you working on you and the personal work we have to do on ourselves,
right.
Because
to be comfortable in my own skin.
Right, because we don't owe anybody. Nobody's really expecting it. It's all up in our noggins. And so that's, again, like, I think that's the more comfortable we're getting, the more comfortable, like, I'm okay with telling people I don't drink. And then I had someone say yesterday, oh, are you still on the wagon? And I just said, yes, as opposed to being like, it's my forever wagon.
Right. Yes.
I mean, would you agree that, like, that's, like, we kind of put it on ourselves? Like, that's part of the disease,
I think the reason we feel obligated to explain or justify or whatever is because we're carrying guilt for being alcoholics. Like, we are. Like, I don't want to be alcoholic. I want to be a normal person who doesn't care if I drink or not, who, if I picked up a drink, wouldn't have 7. Like, I want to be a normal person.
17.
Right? I want to be a normal person like these people. And so I know that this reaction I'm having, this like anger at that need to explain, is because I wish I was just like them and I didn't care. I'm not. I do care. It does bother me. But it's not them seeking the explanation. So I think the work for me is a little, and I'm sorry, I like kind of came at you about this because I'm sorry. You were throwing out like, I'm on antibiotics. Like, that's what set me off, is that when I'm like, I shouldn't have to lie.
Right.
I shouldn't have to have a lie in my back pocket, because at the end of the day, it's nobody's business and nobody cares.
I just think it's
me
right.
feeling the need to have something to say. Even the brake system thing.
Right.
Like, it's the same thing. It doesn't matter what you're saying. I mean, that's
it's just
honest,
for somebody
but
that's new. I think it's okay. Like,
yeah. It's all
you'll
okay.
get over
it's all okay.
right.
Yeah.
You'll get over that as those situations become easier.
Yeah,
just like
maybe.
talking about it, like Pat was saying, like I used to just cry or get emotional. I don't want to talk about it because it was like the acceptance
right.
and knowing that that's my forever, which is still a big.
I can't even think that way.
Right.
Yeah.
So as that time progresses, like I think those lies shed, and as your skin, you get more comfortable in your own skin. That's like for me. I was at a work function, and I just. I was more upset there weren't waters in the cooler. Like there was diet soda and there were a couple other like soda options and some things, and then it was all beer, beer and wine. And I was like, okay, I don't drink soda. Like rarely will I splurge just like a diet ginger ale when I'm feeling crazy. But
crazy girl.
I know. So I was like
ginger ale. All right, ginger.
I know. I just love it. So. But, like, I was more upset there weren't waters. Like, I had to drink a Diet Coke. And for me, it's weird to drink a Diet Coke without having Bacardi in there, right? Because I went through this, like, Bacardi Diet Coke phase from, like, 20 to 24. Yeah.
Gross.
So,
Diet Coke requires Captain, not Bacardi. What's wrong with
clear, because it didn't have the sugar. And I was always calorie conscious. So, Yeah,
I think Bacardi still had sugar. I'm not quite on that one, but... Rum is
rum.
It does. Rum is all made from... Rum is just like sugar liquor.
Okay. To be continued
anyway,
on that. We'll sidebar that. I don't even know where I was going with that anyways. But yeah, so just...
So you were upset there wasn't water.
Yeah, just having waters made me feel like... I was like, where's water? And then somebody came with a case of water and put them in there.
Oh.
And then people came over and started grabbing waters.
There you go. You were not alone.
Yeah, so there are options. We're good.
I hate things.
I know, but somebody has to keep it.
Ugh, it's not
check on this.
All right, so I have my work holiday party tonight.
Ooh,
so
I cannot
we
wait
can talk
to
about
have
some
that.
strategy
Okay.
and planning, right? And talk about that a little bit. So, it's my first year with this company. I've been there about a year. It'll be a year in January. So I'm pretty comfortable. I'm not a new kid, but I've never really, the functions that I've been to with coworkers, the only people who've really seen me drink are my immediate manager who was just as drunk as I was, and my coworker who does the same job I do. Like the three of us and one of my friends were in this golf tournament and got completely annihilated. Other than that, none of the people I work with have really seen me drinking. Like the upper management, none of them. So it's not like, oh shit, last year's Christmas party I was a shit show, and this year. So it's a little different. I feel like I'm coming in with a little bit of a clean slate.
Okay.
And I went to that conference a couple weeks back, and everybody saw me not drinking, and nobody questioned that, asked about that. Like that was normal to them because they don't know me really otherwise. So I'm not too worried about it. I'm grateful it's at a place that's about 15 minutes from home. So if at some point I am uncomfortable, it's not a big deal for us to go. My husband's coming with me,
Yay!
which he doesn't come to a lot of stuff. So this is good. I'm glad he's coming to my work party. He's supportive and he gets it.
Have a little arm candy on there.
Yeah. Right? Little J Snow. So the question mark for me is I don't know what to expect of everyone else, because where we're having it, there are rooms for people to stay. They call it a resort, which I think is hilarious. It's a Pirates Cove, right? That's a resort.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not a resort. But
I know.
anyhow,
Okay.
it's not a resort like we would pay to go to. But anyway, there's hotel rooms there. So we're having it there. I know some people are staying. So I'm kind of like, ooh, I wonder what
That's
this is going to look like. I don't know. But we're the two of us are going together. I know I can count on my husband never to get wrecked, because that's just not how he is. So I know we'll both be good. And if I want to go, I can go. But I feel pretty safe going into this one, and I'm glad it's close to home. I think that's really it, because my Christmas is gonna, it's the same thing. It's the in-laws. It's kind of rinse and repeat. So I'm not too worried about Christmas itself. But this is really the only. I have this party and I have his work party, which is not wild and crazy. They do it on a Friday night after work. It's a couple hours. Like it's never it won't be a wild and crazy. I don't want to say it's never, because there was the first year we went, it was a little wild and crazy because it was at the owner's house. It was a little different.
Well, you can never unsee what you've seen at a work Christmas party, and you can never undo what's happened, what you've done, right? Yeah. I mean, I've been fortunate to not have.
Yeah, I've been dancing on the table with a lampshade on my head at more than a few. Okay, for sure.
I definitely have in the past, not with this not in my current position, but I will say it was interesting. So I went to one of my work Christmas parties already, and I was only there for a short stint of time because I just wasn't comfortable, basically. And so I thought my sobriety at that point, I had to make a decision what was more comfortable, what was better for Lindsay at the time, than what was better for everybody else. And I should have been there, and like for a work standpoint, like I should have been there to represent. I should have been there.
The work Christmas party is for you. You're an employee.
We can talk about that later. But so anyways, so I was there, and it was interesting because people are always expecting that I'm going to have a drink with them because I always have. So it's something they could count on, right? I'm always going to have a beer with them to celebrate or cheers. And
you've been there a few years now,
yeah.
Right? Yeah.
And so, I mean, I might have gotten a little saucy, but the people that have seen me like wasted are again like more of like the upper management team than everybody else at like all the team members, you know?
Yeah.
So it was funny because I, drinking water and drinking Diet Coke, people were like, oh, let's take a shot. Let's do this. Let's do that. And I'm just like, no, I'm good. Oh, why? I'm like, I stopped drinking. It's been 6 months since I had a drink. Like, and I just felt a lot more comfortable opening up about that stuff. But I did leave before they did the gift exchange, which was a little fucked up, but I had to go. I needed to go. Like,
I don't think it's fucked up at all. I think you gotta do what you gotta do. They talk about it a lot about, nothing is more, your sobriety is this fragile Fabergé egg you're carrying around, and nothing is more important than it. And we have seen people smash their egg to bits now.
So speaking of smashing to bits, I just want to touch base. Segue? Yeah, I did. I'll take it. So I was recently at a function that I had known somebody from the rooms.
Yeah.
That means AA. And they had gotten an 8-month chip when I saw them there, and I was a little shocked.
And it was someone you didn't know was sober prior to that.
Correct. So thank you. So when I saw them in the room, it was a little bit like, and I was still very new to AA. I think I'd only been a couple times with you. It was one of the first times. Pat was with me. So
it was one of the first times you went by yourself.
Right, by myself, but still with Pat.
Yeah.
And took me a while.
Pat was there too.
Yeah, but it took me a really long time to go by myself. So like that struggle is real, and we can talk about that maybe on a different episode. But
sure.
This was one of the times I still was going without you, and you were my clutch for a long time of that. So saw him, he got his 8-month chip. We never talked about it outside of the room. I stopped going to that particular meeting because I didn't find that it was for me, which you'll see, like, you have to kind of go to some to figure out where you fit, where your people are.
Yeah, for sure.
So fast forward, it's holiday time, so that was maybe 4 months ago. He picks up an 8-month chip, 4 months. So I see him at this party, and I see him pick up a Bud Light. And I was like... And meanwhile, I know nobody else in the room knows that I know that he knows that I know that he picked up the chip, So I'm like in my mind having this like, oh my God. And so I'm like, maybe he's just going to carry it around like a prop.
Which I would think like that was a fair thought. But for anybody who thinks that's a good idea, I think that's a terrifying idea.
Yeah.
Do not put a real beverage in your hand as a prop. Like, unless you picked it up, dumped it down the sink immediately, and just held and rinsed it out and just held an empty bottle. Like,
and there were no waters in this cooler, so there were no sober Bud Lights in there, if that even exists, right?
Sober Bud Lights.
So I'm watching, and all of a sudden I see him take a swig, and then he comes over to the circle of people I was with, and I looked him in the eye and shook his hand. Now, maybe he doesn't even remember
Did you look down at his bottle in the back of his face?
I couldn't not. He's like eye level. I had to kind of look down because I'm taller. So I looked at him. He shook the two guys' hands. I stick out my hand because I'm like, you're not going to not shake my motherfucking hand. So shake his hand, and I'm just like my mouth is just like dropped. Now, he could have not even given a shit about what the fuck I thought. And I was like, oh my God. And it was funny when I was telling the story, you know, it's like, what if that was him relapsing right in front of my face?
Right.
And I don't know that. What if it's not? What if he got that 8-month chip, walked out, went to the bar, his favorite bar, had a shot of whatever?
And what do you do? Like, okay, so we're all supposed to kind of be like little family and help each other and support each other. Do we call each other out when we see that shit?
Oh, God,
like,
no.
what do we do?
Honestly, at that moment,
do we say, do you want to make a phone call? Do we want to hold
here's
that?
my cell.
And you can make, no, not me. Like, do you want to call your
Right.
sponsor? Like, hand me. I don't know what you do. I don't know. That's a question for my sponsor.
Ooh, yeah.
What do you do?
So, and also, like, it was so interesting. It just was the weirdest thing. I lost my train of thought there.
Sorry.
But no.
You didn't know if he was like relapsing right in front of you, or if he'd been drinking since you last saw him.
And he doesn't give a shit what I think. Oh, this is what I was saying. He's also relapsed quite a few times before. Like, I know that's not his first stint of trying. So my therapist has like, she doesn't even clap when people come back in the room. Like, she's hardcore, which is kind of how I think I'll eventually be. But she says it's for, I get her perspective. Like, we're all entitled to feel our own way about things.
Sure.
Like, you know, we have the right to feel that way, even if we don't agree with it. So it was really weird. It was interesting. I'm curious to see what the story will play out to be. But it was sad. I kind of felt, so the fear of missing out on drinking the little bit that I have, which I still have all the time, you know.
Oh my God!
But it was gone
constantly.
Yeah, it was.
Everything.
I felt that way about having that Diet Coke in my hand, but then when I saw what I saw, I was like, oh my God, I'm like, I don't have that at all. And I just was like, this isn't the right place for me. And I was carried on through my night.
Wow. I don't know what I would do. It's so interesting. I'm super gonna like bring that up with MC later because I want to know. I want to know what she would say about that. I'm surprised to hear. I'm sorry. I'm gonna
do it.
Back to this white chipping thing. I'm surprised to hear you say that your therapist has kind of like a hard ass line about people coming back in, because I would think, so I'm not saying it's just permission for people to be like, oh, whatever, I've been sober a year, now I'm going to go drink and just come back. Like, it's no big deal. I'm sure that's not what anybody does. I hope nobody does it that, what's the word I want to say? Not
malicious?
Flagrantly. Well, just like it's no big deal. My perception of someone relapsing and how they feel is like so shamed and guilty and failure and like remembering what it felt like when I first walked in.
You never want to do that again.
But times 10, because like I did it, you cheered for me, I picked up chips, you know I was doing great, and then I just fucking wiped it all out. I can imagine I would feel so ashamed, but if I feel so badly and if I think other people in the room are judging or like really feeling negatively about somebody who has relapsed coming back in, that's going to be even more guilt and bad feeling for me to not want to walk back in.
Agreed. I don't think she's sitting in there judging, doing whatever. I just think it's a tolerance level. It's not like this negative, I'm not going to talk to you. It's still a very open arms. It's just a zero tolerance for kind of that. And I agree and I don't. Like, I think that, you know, you have to have a little leeway with yourself. But if you... It was like when you became sober and you were like, well, I don't know if this is how it's going to be for forever. And I was very much like, I didn't say, well, Amy, you need to draw a hard line, right? But at the same time, I was thinking that, like, this needs to be for forever. Now that's like more of the path you're on, right? So I think it's just kind of what works best for you. Right, you have to get there.
But I think someone who relapses has already gone through that struggle. They've recognized, I need to be here. I have a problem. Hopefully they've made some effort for a little while. Whatever happens, you know, we're all, it could happen to any of us.
Oh, absolutely.
We have no idea what is going to be the biggest test we'll ever face and if we'll make it through it. Like, we don't know.
We hope we've already been there.
But it could be tomorrow. Right. It could be 10 years from now. I don't know what that's going to be, if it's ever going to happen to me. I just think it should be, like, it shouldn't be somebody who goes out every night and gets drunk and comes to the rooms every day and is clearly not trying and doesn't have a sponsor and isn't willing to go to treatment or like whatever. Like it shouldn't be that. But if somebody's genuinely like, I mean, when it's a disease, we're fucked up. We don't think straight. We make bad decisions. Like, we're bound to fuck up. Like, that's a part of this.
I know.
And so I want, like, we have a lady in our circle who has relapsed twice in a very short period of time. And I know she feels horrible about it. And I wouldn't ever want her to think like she's not welcome there. You know what I mean?
Right, absolutely, no. And I think this is spearing off a little bit, but because my therapist is wonderful. I think she just has a more of like just a zero tolerance for it. Now we've been in the rooms and heard people say that they had to come back 16 million times, right. But they've been sober for 15 years, right? Yeah. And that it was, and that's why I'm a firm believer that like it's possible for anybody. Because I think that if I can do it, I'm pretty sure anybody can do it. If you can do it, I'm pretty sure anybody can do it.
Agreed.
Like I never.
But the point being, right. We're doing it right now. It always comes back to that one day, right? Like I only know I'm not drinking today.
So that
I don't know what'll happen tomorrow.
And this is a perfect thing, is circling back to the person that I saw, like that, I never want to be in that struggle, that little bit of, and I don't know what the right word to call it is because it's so terrible. It's like, I know I have a problem. What am I going to do about it? I know where to go, but I don't want to go. I don't want this to be real. I don't want this to be happening. How can I control it? How can this not be real for me, right? Like, how do I get out of this? But you need to go to the next like phase. That little part of that piece of your life, like to see that person know that that's what they're going to go through, that like kills my heart.
For sure.
That made me not ever, and that moment made me say, this is for real for a reason, because you don't want to go back to that.
Right. And exactly what you're saying is exactly why it's not just going to be new people that listen to this podcast and find it helpful. It's important for new people to share in the rooms and to talk about the struggle they're going through, because the people who've got 10, 15, 20, 30, whatever years of sobriety need to hear that shit that we're going through to remember how bad it was, so that they don't ever get to a place where they think they can just pick up and control it. Like somebody said that the other day at a meeting. It was an old timer, and I don't remember who had shared prior, but they were like, the new people, the people with it was a person chairing my home group meeting, literally said, he's like, the people who have less than 90 days are the most important people in these rooms, and they're the reason why we with 30 years keep coming in here, because you remind us where we were and what we went through, and that's what keeps us from picking up a drink. So you're exactly right with what you're saying. Like seeing that person relapse and struggle and have to get sober again is what helps us
absolutely
stay the course, because we don't want to be there. It's that in-your-face reminder of what we went through. We don't want to have to repeat. And
hopefully, like, that old-timer can tell the person, like, if you're feeling like a relapse, like, this is what happened when I relapsed. And hopefully the whole relapse can be something that is, it is a lot smaller. It is a lot less heard of, I guess would be the right word, because they're learning, and like, we don't want people to go back out.
But that's not the nature of it.
Right. No, it's not.
When people relapse, it's way worse than when they were drinking before.
And I've seen
every time it's worse.
I've seen it firsthand with a couple of personal people in my life that, like, went to a detox, got out, and all of a sudden it's like they went from being at let's say from 0 to 10, they were at a 5 of like batshit crazy. Like when they get back out, they go straight to fucking 11. 10. Yeah, like shit you see in fucking movies. Like, and that it is true. Like that disease is doing push-ups in you. You think you're good, and that disease is just, they're just revving up, waiting for you to just fucking order that vodka soda with double lime and fuck up, because to put you at the 10. So it's just so important to be like aware of it. Even the other day, I was getting really comfortable with just being like, okay, I'm sober, yay! And then I found like that made me feel like I was missing out on something else. Like it didn't make me, like, I thought I was strong on my sobriety, but then I started having these, I could maybe one day have a drink. And like that thought is fucking scary, because that's like, no, you can't,
right.
So it's just when they say one day at a time, it is just that, one day at a time.
I find when I start thinking about like taking a vacation someday or doing different things in the future, and I'm like, oh God, but like really not. But like, what about like after a year? Like I do the same thing. Like all of a sudden it's there, and you're like, oh no. Like
right.
Sweep it out. Like go get out next. Do something else. Like last night I'm going to share one quick thing, and then I think we're probably wrapping, right? But last night I downloaded the Publix app. And I was like, oh, I've never done the like order food, deliver it to the house from the grocery store. And I thought, well, that's incredibly lazy and awesome. I'm going to try it. So I downloaded the Publix app. I'm sitting on the couch. John and I had gone out to dinner. And so we were back home watching TV. He's probably asleep at this point. I'm going through the Publix app. And everything was alcohol. Everything was wine, like the sale items. It was like 2-for-1 wines and beers. And as I'm scrolling, I all of a sudden I realized how like I was getting desperate for how bad I wanted to drink a bottle of wine while I was flipping through the freaking Publix app, and I was like, move a muscle, change to that, do something different. Like I had to put my phone down and go get something else to do with my hands or whatever. Like I literally
Good for you.
had to like get up and do something different, but it took me so long to realize what was happening. Like I was in it for a while. Like many minutes of like scrolling and looking and
the anxiety
and
a little
missing bit and envisioning the glass of red wine and like totally like set me down like a crazy tube.
And that's one thing that's one of
like
the things.
Almost called my sponsor.
Ooh, well,
came
good girl.
That close. Almost called my sponsor.
That's one of those things that I hated when they said, move a muscle, change a thought, move a muscle, change a thought. And I just was like, I don't get it. And that is something that...
And I was like, whoosh.
Right.
Needed it. Move a muscle, change a thought.
But now I always have that vision in my head of it. But now I'm like, now I use that all the time. Move a muscle, change a thought. Even work stuff. It's not even about alcohol. It's about whatever it is. Move a muscle, change a thought.
Whatever you're funking about.
Right.
Something different. Yeah.
Right? Didn't do the dishes? All right, move a muscle to that, whatever it is.
Another thing that I had wanted to bring up related to the holidays was the non-alcoholic beverages.
Ooh.
And the part of the reason I brought this up was because yesterday afternoon I was in a store where I was looking at like the Welch's sparkling whatever, and I was thinking about like, oh, well maybe that would be nice to have like a non-alcoholic bottle of red wine. And I'll go backwards a little bit in a minute, but I was thinking about that yesterday, and then that happened last night on the couch flipping through the public stuff, and I was like, nope, I don't think it's a good plan for me. I think it's a gateway drug.
Yeah,
it's a gateway drug, right? If I have that FRE wine, that non-alcoholic stuff, I think it's just for how much I wanted it last night, for how bad I wanted to drink last night. I think it would be such a slippery slope, and it answered the question. And I had been looking, I was reading about it, I was reading some different articles about it and people's thoughts about it, because there's the jury's out.
Yeah.
Some people feel like it's okay, some people feel like it's not. Some people feel like non-alcoholic stuff is only okay if you're not an alcoholic and you just don't like to drink alcohol and whatever. Like for us, it's a very different reaction in our brain.
Right.
But my husband saw me looking at it, and he's like, ooh, I think that's a slippery slope. And I got angry at him about it. I really did. I was like, fucking don't be a dick. Like,
right?
I'm doing so good. I'm at day 81.
Woo!
I want, I'm not drinking. I'm doing great. We went to dinner last night. We sat at the bar. Everybody was drinking around me. I was fine with it. I had my club soda. I didn't even put it in a wine glass. Like, I feel like I'm doing so good. And he was like, well, I don't think that's a good idea. And I got mad. And then this all happened last night, and I was like, okay, that answered the question for me. Not okay.
I think it's different for me. I have different opinions about it, because I think it's fine to, when we go out to dinner or when we're like out for something and it's not like a work event, like a party, it's like a dinner or whatever. Like, I like ordering a mocktail, something fun,
Sure.
But I won't go and buy a non-alcoholic beer and bring it to a party like I'm bringing some Corona Lights or something.
Right.
Like, that's not, to me, it's different. Like, I think that's a slippery slope. I think ordering a fun drink.
Wine is very specific for me.
Oh, and wine is a trigger,
It's
especially for us.
specific.
We're winos.
Yeah. I've been buying the like organic, lime juice, margarita mix, and there's nothing in that, and that's fine, and it's not making me like freak out about it and want something else. But the wine, like, can't do it.
No, I wouldn't. It's too tricky there. There's just too many similarities, too many triggers, and you're kind of like going back and like you're reversing into the habit of, oh, I'll just come home and have a non-alcoholic whatever, beer, wine, as opposed to just being like, oh, I'm going to go put on my running shoes and go for a run because I'm stressed out, or I'm going to go eat some chocolate, whatever phase you're in, whatever it is, instead of that like substitute. I think it's just too close. But for the holidays, if that's how you have to get through them, whatever works for you. That's like, we will ask what diet or whatever. It's like whatever works, whatever you can stick with that works for you.
And ask whatever your person is that is your guidance system. Like we have our therapists, I have a sponsor, like whatever those people are that are your guidance system, I think have a conversation about it with them and get some feedback. Doesn't mean you have to do anything. Like they're not there to tell you what to do or what not to do, but they can offer some insight and some thoughts. And I'm sure there's plenty of people out there who have dabbled with that successfully, have dabbled with it unsuccessfully, have opinions one way or the other, like that I can hear more snippets from.
Absolutely. Little nuggets.
Yeah, to form my feelings around it. And that was kind of the phase I was in until last night, when I realized how badly just looking at the wine bottles was triggering me. Like, it's always shocker. It's always jarring when that happens. You're like, oh my God.
Like the weirdest thing sets you off.
When you've been fine for however long. Like, I've been fine. I've been okay. I've been good. We were sitting at a bar a couple hours earlier, and I did not care. The guy next to me had a big old glass of white wine. I was like, oh, I missed that. But I wasn't like, no.
Right.
Like, it's just crazy. We're fucking crazy.
I know.
And we're always going to be crazy.
Absolutely. And I think for the holidays, whatever party it is or whatever you need to do, but just remember, like, getting drunk or taking that first drink, it doesn't change. It's never going to change the situation that you're in. If you keep that top of mind and you have a list of things that are important to you, maybe like it's just one or two things that you pop up when you want to drink. What did you lose when you had that drink? There's so many first drinks.
Yeah, dangle the last roll of that one in front of your face. I like to do that. Like, oh, yeah, I could have one. And then remember when, your husband almost left you because you were passed out on the bathroom floor for 2 days?
Bingo. That's the prime example.
Dangle that right in front of your face.
Or if you want to switch it to more positive, like, is that going to get you to your goal? Like, what's one thing? Is that going to make you want to take Spanish lessons or whatever your goal is? Like, to keep it like simple, right?
Self-improvement with you.
Is that going to make you want to get up in the morning? Just those little things and little tidbits like that help. And if you have to have a seltzer, like, keep a seltzer water with you.
And call somebody.
Exactly.
Talk to somebody who gets it. Like, genuinely. I have you.
Aww.
If I don't feel like picking up the phone to call my sponsor for whatever reason or whatever, I have you who gets it.
Right. I called you last night after I'm like, I have 30 seconds to tell you this.
Yeah. And I think, but it's amazing how important that is. Like, you have, like, my husband's great. He's wonderful. I tell him everything. Like, we have a great relationship. Bless you. We have a great relationship, but he's never gonna really get it.
Right.
He's normal. He's not an alcoholic. He's never gonna get how crazy we are.
So we are gonna wrap it up.
Sorry.
No, we went a little over there, but we just wish everybody, a happy, safe, sober holiday season.
Holidays, yes.
If you have questions or anything, or if you just want to write some tips or anything and you want to contact us and let us know what works for you, wildgirlsgonesober@gmail.com, and you can follow us on Instagram and Facebook.
And post, share. Tell us what's going on with you. Let's create a community of people to lean on and help each other. There's so many great platforms out there, so we want to be that for you.
So, and we're not licensed or have any professional background.
Purely social media.
Yeah, so thank you for tuning in, and until next time.
Stay sober in paradise.
One day at a time.
Wild and crazy. Wild and sober. Have a good one.